So the trick, if you're doing therapeutic work with somebody and you're helping them establish a structure, is to find out what they'll do. Now, if they want to get better, which is not a given, because there are often payoffs for not getting better. That's basically the payoffs of being a martyr, or maybe the payoffs of doing what your entirely pathological family members want you to do because they actually want you to fail. Assuming you want to get better, there's usually something you can figure out that would constitute a step towards some sort of concrete goal. And my presumption, it's a behavioral presumption fundamentally, is that small accruing gains that repeat are unbelievably powerful. So, you know, this is another thing to know about in your own life. It's something I learned in part from reading the writings of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who's a great Russian philosopher and novelist. You know, he said, you can look at your life and you can see what isn't right about it. I mean, all you have to do is look. And then you can start to fix that. And the way you fix it is by noticing what you could in fact fix. You know, people are often trying to fix things they can't fix, which I would not recommend, because if you try to fix something you can't fix, you'll just ruin it. Like, you can find all sorts of undergraduates who are perfectly willing to restructure the, the international economic system, who cannot keep their room clean. And there's actually a gap there, you know, and it's surprising that people don't actually notice. So I would say, if you pay attention, you can see things that you could fix. They yell at you. They really do. We even know how that happens. Let me give you an example, because rooms are full of stories, and the stories have effects on you. So here's a classic experiment. So you take two groups of undergraduates, you bring them into your lab, and you give one group a multiple choice test that has a bunch of words in it that are associated with being old. And you give the other group the same multiple choice test, except the words are associated with being young. This is independent of the content of the test. It's just descriptions. And then you time the undergraduates as they walk back to the elevators. The ones who completed the multiple choice test that had more words associated with aging walk slower back to the elevators. And they don't know that. And they don't know they're doing it. And that study's been replicated in various forms many, many times. You're unbelievably sensitive to the story that your environment's telling you, because your environment is not made out of objects. That's just wrong. Your environment is basically made out of something like tools and obstacles. You're a tool-using creature, you're a tool-perceiving creature. The things you, like if I take you out of this room and I say, well, what was in the room? You're not going to say, random patterns in the carpet, because they're real. They're just as good an object as anything else. You're going to say chairs because you can sit on them, and you're going to say handrails because you can hold them. You're going to say stairs because you can walk down them. That's what you see, and that's what you interact with. And if you pay attention to your environment, which is you, by the way, extended, all of your experience is you. It will tell you all the time what you should do. All you have to do is do it. But then you have to decide if you want to do it. One of the things I've noticed about people, because I've wondered, once I started studying these mythological stories, and I got this idea about the fact that life can be meaningful enough to justify its suffering. I thought, God, that's such a good idea. Because it's not optimistic exactly. You know, some people will tell you, well, you can be happy. It's like, those people are idiots. I'm telling you, they're idiots. There's going to be things that come along that flatten you so hard you won't believe it. And you're not happy then. And so if life is to be happy, well, in those situations, what are you doing? Why even live? But life isn't to be happy. If you're happy, you're bloody fortunate, and you should enjoy it. You should, because it's the grace of God, so to speak. With regards to meaning, I thought, well, people know when they're doing something meaningful. They can tell, so why the hell don't they do meaningful things all the time? It seems obvious. You could do it. I mean, it's hard, because other people want you to do other things, and it's a struggle, but everything's a struggle. And then I thought, well, oh, I get it. I see why. It took me about 10 years to figure this out. People have a choice. Choice number one, nothing you do means anything. Well, that's kind of a drag, right? It's the meaninglessness of life and all that existential angst. That's kind of a pain. But the upside of nothing that you do is meaningful is you don't have to do anything. You've got no responsibility. Now, you have to suffer because things are meaningless, but that's a small price to pay for being able to be completely useless. The alternative is everything you do matters. Really. If you make a mistake, it's a real mistake. If you betray someone, you tilt the world a little more sharply towards evil rather than good. It matters what you do. Well, if you buy that, then you can have a meaningful life. But there's no mucking around. It means responsibility. It means that the decisions you make are important. It means that when you do something wrong, it's wrong. Well, do you want that?
Do you finish your job, come home, play video games, etc.? That's what I used to do when I was 17 a little bit. What I didn't do is come home and think, okay, fuck, let's work on something new. Let's try and build something. Let's start a YouTube channel. Let's start creating content instead of consuming content. I'd tell myself to be a little bit more proactive with my free time and not fuck around so much.
If you had a teenage son, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give him to break through the matrix and achieve success in life?
I think if you're a young man, even if you're not my child, if you're just any man who's out there in the world today, you need to look at some problems that need solving, either for yourself or for society, and find a way to fix it. And I think that you should just adopt some problems and try and fix it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can just try and fix the litter in your area, or you can try and get a six-pack, or whatever you want. Men are builders. The modern world, call me misogynistic, the modern world was built by men. Every building you're in was built by men. Every road you drive on was built by men. We're builders, we build things, and that's what we should be focused on.
Have you got any advice for 21-year-olds who, I guess, seem pretty lost and they don't really know which direction to go in? What would you offer to those guys in terms of advice?
Oh, I've got loads of pieces of advice. Loads. If you don't know what to do, don't go to university.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. If you know what you want to do and you need a university degree to do it, then obviously pursue that. If you don't know what you want to do, going to university is going to burn 3 or 4 years of your time and likely get you into a bunch of debt and a bunch of trouble that you don't need. 2, don't waste...
Yeah, don't waste time.
Yeah, don't waste time on frivolous pursuits. Stop trying to live like the man unless you've actually become the man first. And that means women. Stop trying to get laid all the time and get beautiful women. Because if you are a nobody, the time and effort it's going to take into convincing a really beautiful woman to go to bed with you is much less time than it would take me or Mike, because we are somebody already. So you're burning your hours. Don't chase women too much. Don't chase having fun too much. Don't chase clout too much. Don't try to be seen, cool places that you can't actually afford to be in. You know, Dubai is actually a very interesting example of this. I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, but that's all good advice. It's simple. Dubai is a very good example of this because Dubai is a place where people can look like they're doing something big when they're doing absolutely nothing at all. Mm-hmm. There are hotels in Dubai, like the hotels I stay at, that are 1, 2, 3 grand a day, 10 grand a day. They do exist. And there are also hotels in Dubai up near the old town where, you know, the laborers and the workers stay that cost $35, $40, $50 a day. That does happen. You could fly to Dubai, and people do this. Men do this with no money. They come to Dubai with their friends. They have no money in their pockets. They have a nice shirt that they'll wear, fine. And they'll take a taxi from their really cheap hotel down to downtown, picture in front of the Burj Khalifa, click, picture in front of a Lamborghini, click. Now they're a guy with a picture in front of a Lamborghini in Dubai. They're a guy who hangs out in Dubai now. He's at the Burj Khalifa. He makes less than $1,000 a month, probably. You know, people do this. They literally clout chase based on location. And that is the biggest waste of time that I've ever heard of. You know, go on a vacation within your budget and have fun with your friends, by all means, and take your mind off trying to be somebody. But yeah, people pretend too hard today. And the effort it takes to pretend short term will make you look richer or cooler or more successful than you are. But if you take all the time that you spend pretending and actually invest it into trying to become what you're pretending to be, you'll get there. Yeah. But it will take, again, 3, 4, 5 years.
I use this analogy a lot, maybe I overuse it, but you need to find a way to some degree to escape the matrix. And I say the matrix because the matrix, the way it is designed...
And you're not just talking shit because you've actually done that.
I've escaped the matrix.
Yeah.
I've literally escaped the matrix in every form. So any form of oppression no longer applies to me. I can be canceled. You know, I can say what I want. My finances are secure. I've escaped the matrix. And when I talk about the matrix, it primarily applies to men because men are the backbone of the slave force. They always have been and always will be. And unfortunately now, if you're a law-abiding man inside the matrix, your future and the life that is laid out for you is nothing but threat. You're going to go to school, you're going to get in debt, you're going to get a job, you're going to get a wife, divorce is coming, you're going to lose the house eventually, your job's shit, inflation's outpacing your wages, you're going to work, no one's going to appreciate it, now you're old, realize it. That is the matrix for 99% of men, and you need to find a way to escape it. And I guess I was kind of fortunate from a young age. I always knew that the matrix was coming and that the system is designed to oppress. The people who make the rules do not make the rules for the benefit of us. They make the rules for the benefit of the people who make the rules. And I knew that. And I think every person intrinsically knows that. Like if it's 4 a.m. and you're sitting in a gas station and a Lambo pulls up, you're probably thinking drug dealer or criminal. You're not thinking, oh, he definitely went to school. The system is absolutely broken. It's designed to oppress. And that the majority of people who stick to the rules are going to lose. This is the knowledge that you're only going to learn the hard way. And even after I tell you, you're still not going to implement it because you don't learn even unless it's learned the hard way. But at least if I tell you in advance when it happens, you can be like, oh yeah, I should listen. So I'll tell you a few of my boundaries.
Many dreams die while suffering. When you're suffering, you give up on the very things that you wanted the most.
So many people out there fail, not because they don't have the ability. It's because they don't have the heart to go through adversity.
Now it's the mental game. And that's where people get lost in life, get lost in that next level. You must get your fucking self out of the fucking sewer. No one's coming in the fucking sewer to get you. It's dark, it's nasty, there's rats down there.
It's within your mind.
You are the only person that can pull yourself out. You gotta study this shit, man. The only way we're gonna fucking get through this is if we study it. So every time I'm in a dark moment, I get in it, man, with a fucking pen and paper. I'm like, okay, this fucking sucks. I can feel like I'm losing my shit, but let's fucking study this.
What is it that I can learn from this? What corrective action do I need to take that will unlock the door to unlimited powers and possibilities that I have within myself?
Let's come out of this motherfucker genius.
The easiest thing in the world to do is to complain. The easiest thing in the world to do is to be negative. It takes work to have a perspective that see things on the right side of the coin. You gotta fight for that. It takes work to show up every single day, and when things are not playing in our favor, to say, you know what, man, I'm gonna still show up, and I'm gonna give everything I got to it because I value what I'm a part of. It takes work to have the right perspective.
You're gonna need some energy. You're gonna need something that's so powerful. You're gonna need something when real life happens. You're gonna need some energy that can get you going and get you through this. You've gotta ask yourself, what's your why? What motivates you? What pushes you? What drives you?
You gotta have a why. You gotta have a reason for why you do what you do. The problem with some of y'all, the reason why you don't give 120% because you ain't got a why for what you do.
What is it that will give you the drive? What is it that will ignite the courage in you to get up and come back again and again and again? How is it that you would be able, what reasons that can tap in to that deep down feeling that goes to your gut, that no matter how many times you get knocked down, that you're coming back?
Why are you here, Les? Because I want to make Mama proud of them. I promise my kids I'm going to do for them. I'm going to give them a better life. I want to leave them a legacy.
I wish I could promise you it gets easier.
I wish I could tell you that if you just keep going, the weight is gonna get light. I wish I could tell you that, but that's not the truth. The truth is, you gotta find something within. You gotta find something within, and that's gotta push you, and that's gotta drive you, and that's gotta move you. And when you find out what your why is, you don't hit snooze no more. When you find your why, you find a way to make it happen. And so life normally breaks you because when it hits you, you wasn't ready. But if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. If you stay ready and you stay plugged up, when you hear bad news, it don't break you because you already energized.
Whatever you want, you gotta be willing to accept whatever come with it. You don't judge a person by where they stand in times of comfort and convenience. You judge them by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. Like when you work for something, it gives you a different type of attachment to it. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. That's why cats can give up so easy. They ain't got nothing invested. They ain't worked for it. They ain't sacrificed for it. But when a cat worked for something, like when a cat been sacrificed for something, well, you gonna have a cold day in hell before you take it from them. Because they value it different.
It's a dog fight. It hasn't been easy. It's a dog fight. You have a dream, and then life punks you and say, do you really want this? It's a part of it, but I paid too much. It's been rough. It's been hard, but I've made up in my mind that I will get a reward for the pain that I go through.
I'm not retreating. I'm not running. I don't care if you say we outnumbered. We live by this and we die by this. We don't retreat. Once we hit that wall, we don't quit. We don't give up. We push a switch called will, and we start using our willpower. Yes, we tired.
Yes, our minds urge us to give up.
Yes, it's saying quit, but we cannot quit because we realize we have not reached the goal yet. You have come too far to quit now. You have invested too much to quit now. You have lost too much to quit now. Get a reward for your pain. Don't cry about it. Don't whine about it. Get a reward for it.
When you acknowledge that, hey, it's me. I'm the one. I've got to do this. I'm the one that's going to turn this around. So I got some roadblocks here. It's not easy for me. But ultimately, I know that these roadblocks, these obstacles, this opposition won't stop me. It will not determine my reality.
You start running from a class, you start running from a subject that you don't like, it will haunt you for the rest of your natural life. It ain't going nowhere. At some point, you gotta go take the life out of it. At some point, you just gotta take that thing out. You gotta take the breath out. So some of y'all are afraid of math. Go after it. Go get it. Don't run from it no more. Go get it. You go in there and go get that grade. You go in there and get that information so you can pass that class. You gotta go get it.
Be f***ing great. Put the time in to learn the skills. Put the skills into practice and make a commitment to becoming so good that all your peers say, that's the motherfucker, that's the best. And if you can do that, you cannot be stopped.
Ask yourself, what remarkably stupid things am I doing on a regular basis to absolutely screw up my life? What would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? Because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. And you could be way better. You could be incomparably better across multiple dimensions.
Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. What we most fear doing, asking, saying, these are very often exactly what we most need to do.
There are numerous aspects of life within our control, but we often choose not to.
Let's say tomorrow, you now set in your mind you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Your first instinct is, whatever I said yesterday, I was comfortable. It was a nice day yesterday. I made this plan at 8 o'clock at night. Now it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm tired. You hit that snooze button, you've now lost the war. Let's say you get up at 6:45 now, because you snooze a few times. You go in the shower, now your day's all late, so now you feel a little guilty now, you missed your workout, you're running late for work now, and guess what the war's gonna do? It's gonna f you up. You must win the war in the morning. So then when you go into life that you cannot control, you've already mentally won so many battles early in the fucking morning, so you're going into fucking war having already won something. So you're not going to war defeated. You're going to war knowing I did my push-up, I did my sits, I read, I meditated.
Whatever the fuck you do, you're prepared, poised to confront the challenges life presents.
You have to be that person who, no matter what's going on, still says, fuck it. I am going to do what I have to do to get to where the fuck I have to go.
I don't think about getting up. I just fucking get up. And you just do it. You make it a habit.
You got to get over your mind going, I can't do this, it's too hard and all that shit. You got to push yourself through when you feel exhausted and say, there's a second wind in me, I'm going to find it. But if you find yourself saying, I can't do something, I don't want to do something, but you know if you made yourself do it, you're going to be a better human being, then you must do it. Don't hesitate, do it immediately. Some people say, well, that's not a very safe life. That's not a very secure life. If you want security, go to prison. If you want freedom, this is how you live.
Don't even use the word commit. Don't even think about the word discipline. Just do the thing every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Your only commitment is to the activity, not to the grand scheme, not to the big picture, not to the implications of what it is that you're doing. It's to do the thing. Habits are the building blocks of our lives, not the goals or the grand schemes or the vision or the big idea. It's what you fucking do every single day that matters more than anything.
No excuses. Do it. Girlfriend or no girlfriend. Do it.
Tired or not tired, regardless of weariness, you must do it.
You said you was gonna do it out your mouth. You're a man now, and a man is only as good as his word, not his emotions. Your emotions don't win championship. So whatever's gonna cause you not to be your best, stop it.
This is about you retraining your brain to understand this is a fucking process that we learn of discipline and execution and competition with ourselves. And if you want to dictate the success that you're going to create, you got to learn to master the that everybody else thinks is irrelevant. I'm speaking to the people who want more, the people who want to be the fucking pinnacle, the people who want to be accomplished, the people who want to make a fucking difference. You guys are going to have to go all the fuck in.
make a 100% commitment to give the best effort you've ever given to outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast like never before.
You can't be motivated anymore. You don't need others to motivate you. You have to be self-motivated.
You can't listen to your mom. You can't listen to your dad. You can't listen to your friends. You can't listen to the fucking internet. You can't stick your fucking toe in the pool and say, oh, I don't know, this kind of feels weird. No, you have to dedicate every fucking breath, every fucking ounce of energy, and every fucking thought and effort that you possibly have in your heart to becoming what it is you want to be.
If you really want to make an impact, you must prepare for judgment.
You're going to get a lot of hate. People are going to just diss on you. People are going to say, who do you think you are? If no one thinks you're crazy, you're not yet operating to the outer limits of your potential.
I actually appreciate my haters. My haters keep me grinding. I tell them all the time, if you want to pay attention to success, watch me. A lion never negotiates with a hyena. He ain't waking up in the morning and saying, I'm gonna go hang out with some hyenas. He ain't going to the same clubs where he know the hyenas don't like him anyway, because he don't concern himself with the conversations of hyenas. An eagle flies at a certain altitude, and the only other bird flies at that altitude is another eagle. So if he find himself flocking with pigeons, he may be flying too low. See, sometimes we asking ourselves, why my friends treating me like this? You hanging out with pigeons. Why they talking about me like this? Man, you hanging out with pigeons. Eagles ain't got time to gossip. Kings don't gossip. Fools party, kings celebrate.
They say we die twice. Once when the breath leaves our body, and once when the last person we know says our name.
And he would be shooting baskets in the dark because they hadn't even turned the lights on yet. He'd be there an hour, 2 hours before everybody. Everybody would be at breakfast, and he would show up fully sweated out, like he had just done 3 hours of work and before anybody did anything.
How much harder will you work in this offseason now to get back to the championship?
Well, I'll push myself to exhaustion. I play games with the flu. I play games with 102-degree fever, man.
And I made a promise to myself I was going to work that hard every single day. When I do retire, I have no regrets. If I could work that hard every day, what would my career be?
From Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
This kid right here, mark my words, is going to be unbelievable.
There you see Kobe Bryant in the foreground, the man many have dubbed the next Michael Jordan.
He wants it so bad and he's willing to go to the extreme at the age of 34 and play in 38 minutes. That's ludicrous. He's cursed as much as I am.
He just want to get to the offensive end and go one-on-one. I'm going to make his ass work down.
It was fun to be out there.
This man played with a broken finger and won a championship. To Garnett, back to Kobe.
.1 game. Olympic champion, the United States of America. Back-to-back titles for the Los Angeles Lakers, a three-peat and a sweep.
The fourth NBA championship.
The LA Lakers, the 2010 NBA champions.
Falls down, and he is hurting. But the Lakers eat him at the free throw line.
Family walks in. I had tears in my eyes.
And, they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm like, it's all right. Dad's going to be all right. He'll be fine. As a parent, you got to set the example. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not going to be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm going to step away on my own terms.
We all have shit that we go through. We all have things obstacles that were in our way at some point or another. We all had doubt. We chose. We chose. Using the darker emotions, the anger, resentment, frustration, sadness, using that as a weapon. No matter what happens, the storm eventually ends. And when the storm does end, you want to make sure that you're ready. Really learn to put one foot in front of the other, because eventually that storm passes.
Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream.
I didn't know if I could do it. You know, it was my daughter who kind of put things in perspective for me. Gianna, she's now 13, and she was like, well, you always tell us to go for it.
We're not on this stage just because of talent or ability. We're up here because of 4 a.m. We're up here because of 2-a-days or 5-a-days. We're up here because we had a dream and let nothing stand in our way. If anything tried to bring us down, we used it to make us stronger. We were never satisfied, never finished. We'll never be retired.
That's how you have to be if you want to be a winner. There's just no way around it.
Rest at the end, not in the middle. And I took that to heart. My next dream is to be honored one day for inspiring the next generation of athletes to have a dream, sacrifice for it, and never ever rest in the middle.
Uncommon amongst uncommon people.
A 60-point game. What an exit for number 24. You couldn't have written this. And the Oscar goes to Dear Basketball.
The most basic answer, I'm sorry it's so simple, but it's true, it's fear. People making this complex process, this woman was telling me that I don't understand why they don't do this, why I feel this way. I said, it's called fear. Everybody's afraid we're not enough. Everybody's afraid we're not rich enough, smart enough, young enough, quick enough, fast enough. It's human nature. But the secret is to do it anyway. I know that sounds so simplistic. My work when I'm working with somebody is showing them how to condition themselves, like building a muscle, so that you take action first, automatically. Because if you don't do that, it's hard. You lose momentum. It's like, how do I get started? Where do I go? Do anything to start the process of moving forward rather than let fear stop you. All of you have targets, things that you're after. If you're gonna get a new result, if you're gonna grow your business, if you're gonna be able to support your mom, if you're gonna get rid of the anxiety, if you're gonna be able to overachieve and not have all that fear inside of you, you obviously need to get a new result. You're gonna have to get new action. You don't get new results with old actions doing the same thing. What human beings can do is amazing. What they will do is usually disappointing. It's not because we're not capable of it. It's because we don't have new actions because we get in certain emotional states that dominate us, like anxiety, like fear of failure, right? Like the fear of the loss of your mother as an example. So if you're in a state of fear, you're gonna behave very differently and get very different results than if you were in a place of being courageous or bold or warm or connected or playful, any of those. So the most important key to changing your life in any situation is to change results, you gotta change behavior, but to change behavior, you gotta change the emotional state you're in. Now, how do you do that when you don't feel like it or it feels overwhelming? There are two ways, and I've done this with the greatest athletes in the world. I've done this with 4 different presidents of the United States. I've done it with billionaire clients. All you have to do to change your state is not try to think your way there. Like, I'm happy, and do a bunch of affirmations. Your brain's gonna go, BS, you are not happy, right? What you need to do is make a radical change in the way you use what we call your physiology. It's a big word. It just means the way you use your physical body. I've taught this for 40 years. And about 3 years ago, Harvard finally did a study where they proved what I did worked, and they called it these power positions. And what they showed was if you stand, everyone can try this, stand up just for a moment if you want, everybody at home can try it as well. So do something really silly. Put both your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman or Superman or that stuff, right? If you stand like this and you breathe deep for just 2 minutes, what the science found was that you will absolutely increase your testosterone by 20%, man or woman. You'll drop your cortisol, which as you know is the stress hormone, by 22%, and you're 33% more likely to take action if you wouldn't have before because fear would have stopped you. Now, I don't have people just stand like this. I have people move, use their voice, make radical changes in their body. You'll feel it after 2 minutes. Or, somebody who's, puts their arms back like this and their feet up, that'll produce the same state. It produces more certainty in you. And that certainty gets you to take different actions. So if you are in a situation, you think of the worst scenario, your mom dying, no, my business goes under, I never achieve at the level I need to, all the things I have anxiety about, the minute you focus on them, you go into those states of fear, and then you behave fearful, and you get lousy results. And when you get lousy results, what does it do to your brain? You go, see, I told you I couldn't do this. It becomes this negative loop. So how do we break out of it? We change our focus by asking better questions. Answer this question in your mind. What is it in your life that you're proud of? If there's something you could feel really proud of right now by focusing on it, your children, yourself, something you accomplished, you did, how many can think of something you could feel proud of? And I don't mean fake pride, ego pride, like where you're making things up. I mean, well, you really did something you're proud of. Good. Right now, close your eyes and focus on how it feels when you're really proud. Focus on that moment you're proud of. How do you breathe when you feel really proud? And if you're a little kid, what happens to your face when you're really proud? You don't hide it, right? There's that big smile on your face. Think of something that you could be really grateful for or excited. Pick either one. Something you could be grateful for, a person, a moment, or something if you wanted to that you could be excited about. Let's use excited for a moment. How many can think of something in your life that if you focused on it, you could feel excited? All right, close your eyes. And just for a moment, all we're doing is changing your focus. Focus on what could excite you. Feel like it's really happening. Your mom's healing, you break through in the business, you're achieving the level you want. Anxiety is rid from my life. I'm on charge, I'm on top of it. How do you breathe when you feel really excited?
Yeah.
So if we change the state you're in, just by changing our focus or the way we use our bodies, it's gotta be a radical change, right? Here's my question for all of you. If you focus on what you want, life has probabilities, there's no guarantees, but you increase them when you change your state. And that's really what this is all about. Learning to change your body and learning to change your focus.
The first thing I would say is that if you're dealing with someone who's depressed and they're really depressed, you should try giving them antidepressants. Because if they die, you can't help them. Okay, so if you're suffering, you are obligated, in a sense, to hold on to whatever rope someone throws you. And one of the things I do with my clients all the time, especially if they're really in trouble, is to tell them, look, I don't know exactly what's going to help you, but don't arbitrarily throw out any possibilities because you might not have that luxury. Antidepressants help a lot of people, and there are technical reasons why that's the case. So that's a simple answer. It's not relevant to what I already described. Except that if you're offered a gift by your society and it works, try it. I don't care what your presuppositions are. Apart from that, lots of the time you see people who are suffering with depression, for example. There's a multitude of reasons, but I'll take one common reason. You could think about it as associated with the story of Peter Pan. Now, Peter Pan is someone who won't grow up, right? Now, the problem with Peter Pan is he gets to be king. But it's king of Neverland. Neverland doesn't exist. So being king of nothing isn't that helpful. Well, one of the things that you often see with people who suffer from depression, and I'm not making a blanket statement about the cause of depression because there's lots of them, is that people who don't have enough order in their life tend to get overwhelmed. So for example, if someone comes into me and to see me and they say they're depressed, I always ask them a very standard set of questions. Do you have a job? If you don't have a job, you're really in trouble in our society. First of all, your biological rhythms tend to go off the rails right away because there's no reason to go to bed at any particular time and there's no reason to get up. And for many people, if they don't get up at the same time, they foul up the functioning of their circadian rhythms, and that's enough to make them depressed right off the bat, especially if they start napping during the afternoon. They also don't have a purpose. People aren't good without a purpose. And this isn't hypothesizing. We absolutely understand the circuitry that underlies positive emotion. We know how it works. Almost all the positive emotion that any of you are likely to experience in your life will not be a consequence of attaining things. It will be a consequence of seeing that things are working as you proceed towards a goal you value. That's completely different. And you need to know this because people are often stunned, for example. They finish their PhD thesis and their presupposition is that they're going to be elated for a month. And often instead they're actually depressed and they think, what the hell, I've been working on this for 7 years and I handed it in and what do I do now? And that's what depresses them, right? It's the what do I do now? Well, they're fine if they enjoyed it, pursuing the thing. As long as it was working out, they get a lot of enthusiasm and excitement out of that because that's how our nervous systems work. Most of your positive emotion is goal pursuit emotion. If you take drugs like cocaine or amphetamine, the reason they're enjoyable is because they turn on the systems that help you pursue goals. That's why people like them. So if you don't have a job, you got no structure, that's not good. Plus, you tend not to have a point. So you're overwhelmed by chaotic lack of structure and you don't have any positive emotion. Well, do you have any friends? So sometimes you see people who are depressed, they have no job, they have no friends, they have no intimate relationship, they have an additional health problem, and they have a drug and alcohol problem. My experience has been if you have 3 of those problems, it's almost impossible to help you. You're so deeply mired in chaos that you can't get out because you make progress on one front and one of the other problems pulls you down. So one of the things I tell people who are depressed is like, don't sacrifice your stability. Get a job, even if it's not the job you exactly want. Get a damn job, you need a job. Find some friends. Get out in the dating circuit. See if you can establish an intimate relationship. Put together some of the foundational items that are like pillars that your life rests on. Well, that's the practical thing to do. So that's one example with regards to depression. Well, the thing is, you don't just launch it on them, you know. You got to negotiate with the person. And you also got to teach them to negotiate with themselves. And this is something that's very useful to know. You know, you can tyrannize yourself into doing things, but I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend instead is that you ask yourself what you're willing to do. It's a really effective technique. It's like a meditative technique. So, for example, you can get up in the morning and you can think, well, you know, I'd like to have a good day today, so I'd like to go to bed tonight without feeling guilty because I, you know, didn't do some things I said I was going to do, and I'd like to have kind of an interesting day. So you got to fulfill my responsibilities, and I want to, you know, enjoy the day. Then you can ask yourself, well, okay, what would I have to do in order for that to happen that I would do? And the probability, if you practice this for 3 or 4 days, is your brain will just tell you. It'll say, well, you know, there's that piece of homework that you haven't done for like 3 weeks. You should knock that sucker off because it would only take you 10 minutes and you've been avoiding it and torturing yourself to death for, you know, like 72 hours straight. And if you do that, here's a little interesting thing you can do. And, you know, maybe this is little obligations you should clean up. And so what you do in a situation like that is you teach the person to negotiate with themselves. Say, well, let's figure out what your aims are. You got to have some aims, whatever they are. And they might say, well, I'm so depressed I don't have any aims. And then I say, well, pick the least objectionable of the aims and act it out for a while and see what happens. Because sometimes your emotional systems are so fouled up that you have to pretend, you have to act the thing out before you can start to believe it. I mean, people always assume they have to believe and then act, but sometimes that's true and lots of times it isn't. If you just do what you want right now all the time, one of the problems with that is you're going to get yourself in trouble. People are self-conscious and can see the future. We have to bind our actions in the present in relationship to our future selves. You have to act now so you don't hurt you tomorrow and you next week and you next month and you in a year and 5 years and 10 years. And that's actually a community of potential selves that extends across time. You sacrifice the whims of the moment, so that's delayed gratification and maybe a definition of maturity. You sacrifice that because it's a better medium to long-term contract or covenant with yourself.
Validation. Validation is the need to have someone tell you that you're good. In fact, you want somebody to tell you you're great. It's not about them. They cannot be the voice that echoes and determines whether or not your gift, your talents, your abilities are worthwhile. You've got to be able to look in the mirror and know that you've given your all. All you want to do in life is end up empty. Every talent that has been given to you, everything that was given to you as a seed inside of that little body of yours at birth, grows into the trees that have deep roots that go outside of you and into the lives of others, so that you become everything you were supposed to be, and they see everything that you're supposed to produce.
Wherever you are right now, you're exactly where you need to be. And I'm going to say that because one of the major reasons why you do not have what you want in your life is that you invalidate wherever you are. You are so quick to trash yourself. You're so quick to go, this isn't happening fast enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm behind. I'm overwhelmed. That trash talk is what keeps you from moving forward. So you got to start telling yourself every day, you're exactly where you need to be.
What is there that you know you need to do, that you want to do this, but for some reason or another, you've been holding back? For some reason or another, you just have not been able to gather your nerves or be able to work through the procrastinating or putting it off or justifying or blaming. Some reason or another, you just haven't done it. And you know you ought to do this. You really want to do this, but you don't know why you haven't done it. Because in order to begin to reinvent your life, you've got to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort.
If you wake up in the morning, you start having negative thoughts. Man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I just don't feel myself. In the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Everything you already have. Because what you have is substantial. You just haven't gone over the list and taken inventory in a long time. But the fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing.
Because people who make things happen, people who are legendary like yourself, people who take it to the next level, people, as I like to say, are rare breeds that are rare. They don't depend on motivation to move because they know they will never move if they depend on motivation. They will never create if they're dependent on motivation. They will never change if they're dependent on motivation. What they do, they move to create their motivation. Most people move once they're motivated, but rare breed people, they create their movement to create the motivation.
So I'm here to tell you that it will take longer. It will be more difficult. It will require more effort on your part. But you know what I can tell you about that? When you do the hard things, you will have a happy and easy life. But if you constantly choose to take the path of easy and negotiate and compromise, you will have a hard life that ends with regret.
You see, everyone has to go through something, but it's the something you go through that also must go through you. When it does, you'll come out of this thing pure gold. And the only way you can get pure gold is to go through the fire. Stop asking God why and embrace it and say, what's next? Most people wonder why they don't get the opportunity. Coach, why won't you put me in the game? Why won't you give me an opportunity? The reason why is because the word give. No one is going to give it to you. Whatever it is you want in life, you have to desire it more than you want anything. You got to believe that it's your birthright. You got to be hungry. You got to look at everyone as competition and welcome and embrace the fact that you must fight for it. If it's given to you, you will think of it as some kind of entitlement. But if you battle for it, it's a victory. It's earned.
Unchosen suffering is going to happen in life. Your parents are going to pass away, loved ones are going to die, your relationships are going to break down, your body is going to fail you, you're going to become ill or sick or destitute. Things are going to happen that you have no control over. And the only way that you can prepare yourself for unchosen suffering is with chosen suffering. You can elect to put yourself into a position to become a stronger alloy of whatever the metal is that you're made of. And by purposefully choosing difficult things, you will armor yourself against that situation.
Happiness is an emotional response to an outcome. If I win, I will be happy. If I don't, I won't. It's an if-then, cause and effect, quid pro quo standard that we cannot sustain because we immediately raise it every time we attain it. You see, happiness demands a certain outcome. It is result reliant. And I say if happiness is what you're after, then you're going to be let down frequently and you're going to be unhappy much of your time. Joy, though, joy is a different thing. It's something else. Joy is not a choice. It's not a response to some result. It's a constant. Joy is the feeling that we have from doing what we are fashioned to do.
You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. This is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting? The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming?
Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, and it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. Discipline is infinitely more important. No matter how you feel, get up and do what you're supposed to do. That's it. And that's discipline. That's not motivation. If you only did what you were supposed to do when you were motivated to do it, that's leaving it to chance. But if you're disciplined, you go do what you're supposed to do. That's the way it works.
And many people go through life never getting in touch with their greatness because of the lack of motivation to push themselves, or because they have not found something that they believe to be worthwhile to challenge them. I heard a poem once that said, many a flower has bloomed unceasingly and wasted sweetness upon the cold desert air. It's translated, that means simply that many a talented persons have gone unnoticed, and the world never had a chance to be exposed to their talent because that person did not take the time to begin to express or to demonstrate or to motivate themselves in the direction to bring that which they came into the universe to bring.
The whole universe is change, and life itself is but what we deem it. Life itself is but what we deem it. The 8 most profound words in all of philosophy. Things are going to happen. You are going to have experiences in life. Almost all of the important impacts of how those experiences change you are going to be the story that you tell yourself about what that experience means.
There are moments in your life where problems seem as big as a mountain. You don't see the beauty of them because you're looking at it as an obstacle. Stop and look at what you survived so far. Life is full of ups, downs, hills, valleys, and mountains. And when you do so, you will become a mountain of a man, a mountain of a woman, a mountain of a dreamer, a mountain of an achiever. But you got to believe that somehow everything that you are going through is developing you for something greater.
The first one is you are your own hero. You are your own leader. You are your own master. You make yourself so totally accountable for who you are. You focus on you and only on you to become the best person you could be for others.
You want to rebel against your parents? Cool. Do better. You want to rebel against society? Cool. Rebel by working harder than everyone else. That's the best form of rebellion. Sure, you can go and rebel against them by cutting school, not studying. That is a form of rebellion. And guess what? You're the one that loses. So instead of doing that kind of rebellion, rebel by winning. Rebel by getting smarter. Rebel by getting stronger. Rebel by working harder. That's the kind of rebellion you should do.
How motivated are you to do something about it?